All right, good morning, Shabbat Shalom. So let me share with you some of the words of one of my favorite Rosh Hashanah songs. Whoa, whoa, you've got the best of my love. Whoa, whoa, you've got the best of my love. Okay, so maybe it's not in your book. It's actually a song by The Emotions, late 70s. Do you want to hear more? No, you don't. But that's pretty much, whoa, whoa. Does that help? Okay, thank you. All right. But it actually is one of the themes of the high holidays, and it's a large theme of the Torah portion today. But let me explain, which will probably help. When I meet with couples before they get married, we meet a number of times, but one of the questions I ask them is, when do you give the best of yourself to the people you say you love the most? And when do you give the best of yourself to yourself? Because I say that my goal for them is that they're still happy at their 30th anniversary. And I pick 30, throughout, and not just at. But I pick 30 because if you have kids, that's probably when they're out of the house at least the first time. And it's just them. And I really don't like the phrase empty nester that much, because as long as you're still in it, the nest isn't empty. May not be filled with everyone you want, and maybe they don't call as much as you like or visit as much as you'd like, sorry. It's not empty. And I want people to be as happy in their relationships 30 years later, and not just marriage, but friendships, any kind of connection. It's really very much dependent on the idea of when do you give the best of yourself to the ones you say you love the most? Because when you think about it, very often people do a lot of work during the day. You come home, you're kind of exhausted. You put on your favorite pair of college sweats, even though you went to college in the 20th century. And they are not quite as nice as they were when you got them. And you sit on the couch and blah, blah. At work, you are nice to everyone. Right? Everyone's shiny and clean. How are you? How are you? And you get home, and you're a grump. You're just a grump. Now, it happens occasionally. We all have that day. But if I'm a grump and you're a grump, what's going on? And what very often happens is in relationships, again, it's not just marriage, but really friendships within families, it's not that you fall apart in the relationship suddenly, though that can happen sometimes, but it's usually a drift because you just stop caring. You stop putting in the effort, and you just drift away, and sometimes you don't even notice it. And that's why I think the way the Torah portion is framed this week, using the word reshit, when it talks about the first fruits, that when you come into the land, and this is when the people were leaving the wilderness as they come into the land of Israel, they're supposed to bring reshit. They're supposed to bring the first fruits, but it means something deeper. It means the best of what they had, they were to offer. And they were to offer to the community, but it was something that they had themselves as well. Now, you've heard the word reshit before, of course, because the very first word of the Torah is bereshit. And it's often translated as, in the beginning or in the beginning of. But in the Midrash, it talks about Bereshit, that God creates the world with Reshit, meaning the best of what God had. God creates the world. It's not just that God is creating the world, but God brings the best of who God is and really pays attention and wants this to be a beautiful world, wants us to be able to get along somehow. So the world is created with the best of God, but human beings are human beings. And if you look at the story of Cain and Abel, each brings a sacrifice, but Cain doesn't bring Reshit. Cain doesn't bring the best of what he has to offer. And God says, that was okay, but it wasn't great. And then does what no parent should do. And by the way, God was new at being a parent at this point. Only had a couple kids, did not really know what to do. But God says to Abel, your brother brought really nice stuff. And Cain is very jealous, and you know what happens. The Torah portion is about going into the land, but what we don't often talk about is how we had to go into Egypt in the first place. And that was, of course, the story of Joseph and his brothers. There was a lot of jealousy, there was a lot of anger. They were all withholding the best of what they had to the other. And I don't want to go through the whole thing, but because of that kind of jealousy, because of the anger, because of the unwillingness to offer the best of themselves to each other, Joseph winds up being sold into Egypt. The brothers have to follow because of the famine in the land. And it's because of this jealousy, because of this inability to manage that they wind up becoming enslaved, and we don't come out for hundreds of years. It's a very different story if the brothers had said to Joseph, hey, we're happy for you, nice coat. And Joseph said, thank you. And when you have a date, maybe you'd like to borrow it. It's a very different book. In fact, the entire Torah would just be Genesis. And that would be kind of it. But that's not the way it happened. So if the Torah begins with the creation of the world, the story of entering into the land is the recreation of the world. It is a chance again to make a difference, to live in a different and more expansive and more connected way. That's why when they go into the land, the phrase that it says is "V'lakachta merishit kol peri ha'adamah." Take from the best of the fruits that you have grown in the land, and you will offer it to the Kohen. You will share it ultimately with your family and with yourself, and that's how you're going to inherit the land. And I think it's beautiful and so Jewish that the first mitzvah in the land is food related, right? And it alludes to the 7 species of the land of Israel are known for. And if you think about the 7 species, what else are sevens? Like the 7 days of the week, the 7 days of creation, the 7-year cycle of letting the land lay fallow during the Shemitah year, is that what God is saying here is try to create a land where things grow beautifully, and take the best of it and make sure that you share it in a good way. So it means you have to have a land that's healthy enough and that you take care of enough that will yield these beautiful fruits and grains. but it's also a metaphor for the lives that we live. What are you nurturing? What are you creating and growing at home that's nourishing, that's uplifting, that's connecting, that's the best of who you are? And Shabbat is the day where we recreate ourselves. The thing that I tell to couples that I really emphasize in terms of the ritual is Friday night. And they all say, well, we have a different date night. And they're like, oh, that's so adorable. That is so adorable. And I know you mean it, but sometimes there's a game on, or sometimes there's a thing, or sometimes you forget. Friday night is literally written in stone. And it's there to force us to relax. You may have noticed that relaxing is not our superpower in general. We have to be told to do it. You wouldn't need a commandment if we did it on our own. But Friday night, that's when you can give the best of who you are, and that's your time and attention. When you're in a good mood, the other person's in a good mood, your family members, your friends, anyone who you are celebrating with, that moment in time is a way to give your race sheet. Again, it's not going to be every day. You're going to have a day. Mine was Tuesday. If you'd like to know what it was, you're more than welcome to ask me during Kiddush. But Friday night, you light the candles, and it's magic. It's absolutely magic. It's a reminder that you're a human, that you have something to offer, that you can give to the other person. So Rosh Hashanah is coming up really soon. You may notice that the word Rosh is in the word Reshit. Right? It's not the new year, it is the head of the year. It is the peak of the year. So as we approach Rosh Hashanah, even on Rosh Hashanah, think about you have something to give. You have something beautiful within you, even when you don't. Make sure you share that with the people you say you love the most. Share it with yourself. Whoa, whoa. Shabbat Shalom.